everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today is Wednesday. I started out the day with a little bit of a trip to my gym. I have been trying to get back there, and I am so proud of myself for getting back in the gym this morning. I did a little treadmill walk while I watched the rest of Grey's Anatomy. I can't believe I still watch that show, but I'm hooked. I've been hooked for years, and yeah, I still watch. So watched that while I was on the treadmill this morning. Today is kind of like I don't have an actual client I'm working with today, so it's my admin day is what I like to call it, slash like catch up on house stuff kind of day. So I came home, took a shower, I changed my sheets on my bed, put all new clean towels in the bathroom. Amazing feeling. And I'm gonna get into a little bit of baking today. So my husband hosts a game night for his friends on Wednesday nights here at our home. We have a finished basement, or mostly finished basement, and so he has a whole setup down there. So I like to bake, but I don't like to bake and then have the baked goods hanging around my house because I will eat more than my fair share. So I like to bake and then give it away. So I bake typically for them for their Wednesday night game nights, and then I send it downstairs and the plate comes back clean and empty. So it works out perfectly for me. So we're gonna get into a little bit of baking today. And then my husband and I have been making a drink also for the guys, adult beverage. We typically don't drink, my husband and I, that much. Every once in a while we will, but we're not big drinkers. So it has been kind of fun though to experiment. And sometimes he'll do something kind of cool, like with some different colors and make it look kind of like a potion. But tonight we are trying to duplicate a banana flavored beverage we had on a Royal Caribbean ship. We just got back from Utopia of the Seas and had a really good banana drink. So we're gonna try to duplicate that tonight. I don't think my husband's gonna wanna be on camera, but I will try to show you the finished product tonight. And then I try to pair up the beverage and whatever I'm making for a baked good so that they at least kind of go together. Not necessarily the same flavor, but they don't clash in flavor anyway. So tonight I actually am doing a banana cake for them, a sheet cake, not layer cake, a little easier. So I'm gonna show you guys that process, and then we'll see what else we get up to. Hi there, and welcome to Baking with Tanner. So I'm gonna make a banana cake, as I mentioned today. This is a recipe from Sally's Baking Addiction, and I will link the recipe below. I really love her recipes because she, first of all, they're really good. But secondly, as far as baking goes, baking to me is a very exact science. Cooking can be a little more fluid. You can be a little more, you have a little bit more freedom in how you prepare food when you're cooking. When you're baking, it's like a science experiment, and it has to be exact or things are not gonna do what they're supposed to do. So what I love about Sally's recipes is that she includes not only the cup measurement, like a cup of flour, but she'll also include what that what that ingredient should weigh in grams. And I like to weigh, I've already put away my food scale because I have all my ingredients weighed out already, but I like to weigh my ingredients so I know I have a very precise measurement. So already prepared here, I have mashed banana, and I will leave again the recipe below, which will show all of the measurements for these. But I have some mashed banana, which I just mashed with a fork, and I have regular flour, all-purpose flour, and then I have in here some baking powder, baking soda, and cinnamon and salt. I have 3 eggs. I'm not gonna tip it because it will go over the edge. I have 3 eggs and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And then in this bowl, I have measured out granulated sugar and also brown sugar. I have 16 tablespoons or a stick and a half of butter. And then I have a cup and a half of buttermilk. The buttermilk, the butter, and the eggs are all at room temperature. That a lot of Sally's recipes call for that, and it just makes it easier for the ingredients to incorporate. It's not gonna ruin the recipe if you don't have it at room temperature, but I think they come out just a little bit better when you do follow her directions for that. So I'm gonna start by working with the flour and the other dry ingredients. So we have flour, baking powder, baking soda, cinnamon, and salt. That's gonna go into the bowl, and I'm just gonna whisk that together. That's the first step of this. I really do like to have all my ingredients measured out ahead of time. It makes the baking process so much easier. And I think, you grab all your things out, you measure them all out in bowls or whatever you have, and then you put the ingredients away. And it seems like when you go through the cleanup phase, it seems that much easier to me. So here's our flour mixture, which we're now gonna just set aside. And then in the stand mixer, we're going to put in butter. Again, that's at room temperature so that it's soft. 16 tablespoons of butter. And this is unsalted butter because there is already salt in the recipe. If you only have salted butter, you can use that. Just eliminate, my trash is down here, just eliminate the salt from the dry ingredients. So anyone who's an avid baker may have realized that I just made a little bit of a mistake there, and I should have put the sugars in and let them mix up with the butter before I put in the egg and vanilla, but it's okay, it's gonna be fine. Sometimes we make mistakes and we move forward. So the sugar, the eggs, the butter, and the vanilla are all in here and all incorporated. Now we're going to add in the mashed banana. This is about three and a half large mashed bananas. And we're going to mix that up. Okay, so we have the mashed banana incorporated. And while that was spinning, I took the dirty dishes out of the way here and put them in the sink. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put in the flour and the buttermilk, and we're going to alternate them as we mix them in. So we're going to do flour first, and then we're going to add in a little bit of buttermilk, but we're going to have the mixer going continuously at low speed so that you don't get that flour explosion in your kitchen. And it will help get everything get incorporated really nicely. So let's do that phase next. Again, now that all the ingredients are in there, I am pausing again to wipe down the sides of the bowl to make sure that we have all the ingredients in there. And then I'm going to turn it back on for a final mix. Now this recipe does say to be careful not to overmix. Overmixing baked goods will sometimes cause them to get, denser and less fluffy, which is not really what we want usually, especially with a cake. So I'm just making sure that everything is mixed together well and we don't have any huge lumps. A few little ones are okay, especially with that banana in there. And then we're gonna go ahead and transfer this to our prepared pan. Okay, so we have a prepared 9x13 pan here. And when I say prepared, it's been buttered. So it said to grease the pan. And I know there are different schools of thought on how to do this. Some people like to do a grease and flour mixture with cakes. I just like to use straight butter, but I use a lot of it. And what I will actually do is take a paper towel, kind of fold it into a square, and then take some butter that, like the soft butter, and I move it around the pan with that paper towel. It seems to work best for me. The last thing you want is for your cake to stick. Now in a sheet cake situation, it doesn't matter as much because you're cutting individual squares, but if you're making a layered cake, you don't want to tip that cake over out of the pan and find that half of it is stuck to the pan. So this is the route that I like to go. So we have the cake mixture or batter all ready to go. So I'm gonna take this spatula I've been using and just get that into the pan. I already have the oven preset to 350 degrees. I can't remember the length of time that I'm going to be cooking it, but that will be in the recipe link that I share with you down below. Make sure that you get everything out of there. You don't want to waste any batter. And then I like to take my cakes and just lightly tap them on the counter. This will prevent there from being any air bubbles, which might make the cooking uneven. So I'm gonna pop this into the oven, and I will be back later to show you what the finished product looks like as far as the cake goes, and then we can get into making the frosting. Hey there, so I am back now with a shirt change because I got my shirt all wet when I was doing the dishes for the cake. So cake has come out of the oven, it looks awesome. And the cook time, I believe, was 45 to 50 minutes. I set a timer for 44 minutes. I always go a little shy. I have a gas cooktop electric oven, but I like to just check a little before. And then I actually ended up by checking it around 43 minutes, and it was done. So a note that maybe might depend on what kind of pan you're using. I have a glass pan, but mine was perfect in about 43 minutes at 350. And then what I have made here is the frosting. And this is, and I'm gonna use an offset spatula. If you don't have one of these, it is a game changer for frosting anything. This frosting is a cream cheese frosting, and it is a combination of cream cheese, 1 block of cream cheese, with 1 stick of butter. Those both need to be softened because you're going to incorporate those first in your stand mixer. And if you don't have completely room temperature softened cream cheese and butter, the two will not incorporate well and you'll have a lumpy frosting, which nobody wants. So totally room temperature. Then I added to that, per the recipe, it was 360 grams of powdered sugar. I don't remember the cup measurement, but like I said, that's why I like Sally's Baking Addictions recipes, because I have an exact weight. And then there was a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and then the recipe called for 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. Now I like my frostings on the more, I'm not gonna say savory because they're frosting and they're sweet and they should be, but I don't like them sickeningly sweet, especially when they're on a cake, which is also sweet. So I usually go a little bit to the side of a little more salt. So I ended up by adding probably close to, like, I would say 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, not 1/8 of a teaspoon, which might seem like a lot, but just kind of taste it and go from whatever you like. But yeah, I like mine, especially when it's a cream cheese frosting. I feel like the flavor of the cream cheese really comes out more when you have a little bit of salt in your frosting. So anyway, I'm going to, and I also forgot to mention this, I also added just a tiny bit of cinnamon to the frosting. And I would say, if I had to guess, probably just like, I don't know, it was a little sprinkle, 1/4 of a teaspoon, 1/2 a teaspoon, somewhere in there. I don't think we can really go wrong there unless you were to put more than a teaspoon in. So I did not measure mine. And the cake needs to be cooled off, of course, before you frost it. I sped up the process a little bit by putting the cake in the refrigerator. It had been out of the oven for maybe half an hour, and then I put it in the refrigerator for another maybe hour, just to make sure it was good and cooled, because otherwise your frosting will get all melty. And then in Sally's instructions, she actually suggests that you put the cake into the refrigerator before you slice it. to help the frosting set, which makes for an easier slice. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that as well. Hey there, so I'm back with a little craft project. So I found out probably late, I was a little late to this announcement, but that all of the Joann fabric stores are being closed. Where I am here in New Hampshire, we have a really good Joann fabric store. We have a Michael's, and then we have a Hobby Lobby, which is a good, like, I don't know, maybe 20, 25 minutes away. So I really like Joann fabric, and I was kind of sad that they are closing their doors, but the upside is, and it's a small upside, but all their stuff is all discounted right now. Some of it's like, some of their Christmas stuff, they brought out old Christmas stuff that was like 80% off. A lot of their new spring stuff was 40% off. And then like some of their baking stuff, like bakeware, cake decorating stuff was only like 10% off. So if you have one near you and you like Joann fabric, it might be worth taking a swing in to see if there's anything that you need or anything you want to stock up on. I have a Cricut, you know, to make like labels and stuff. And I also stocked up on some of the permanent vinyl that I use for my label maker, so for the Cricut. So, you know, there are some deals to be had, but at any rate, I picked up this wreath. I like the base of the wreath, but it's pretty boring. There's nothing on it. And as far as spring goes, I like a little more going on with my wreath. So I'm gonna show you how I take something really simple and add some stuff to it to turn it into something that I'm really happy with. So I'm gonna start out by just, first of all, I'll try to tell you how much this was. So this was originally $39.99 and it was so $40 and it was 40% off. So that's not a bad deal. What I'm gonna do first is grab a pair of scissors because I forgot those. So 1 second. Okay, so I have scissors, and what I'm gonna do first, because this wreath looks like it had seen better days, is I'm gonna go around and just try to clip off anything that's kind of sticking out weird. Like, this piece looks like at one point it was kind of better adhered to this wreath, but well, maybe I can get it to go back in. But yeah, there are a couple things I wanna just sort of snip off here that look like they're, you know, it's a wreath and it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be a bit organic, but I don't want it to look like, you know, I pulled it out of a dumpster or something. So I'm doing a little bit of work around the edge. Okay, so then I'm gonna make my own bow, and I'm gonna show you guys how I do that. I was taught how to do this by some little old ladies that do a lot of bow making for craft fairs. And I have, once someone showed me, I've never had a problem since. So I'm sure you can Google it and look up your own way to do it, but my big tip is make sure you have a wire edged ribbon, because that will help hold the shapes that you're making. And I start by deciding how long I want the tail of the ribbon to be, or tail of the bow. So I like it to kind of go like down through the wreath like this. So I'm gonna start by just making a little loop just like this, okay? And I'm gonna sort of pinch it together. And then ideally I would have cut this before, but I have some floral wire here, and it comes in all different gauges. This one is a 26 gauge. It's a little bit of a thinner one, easy to move around. But you can use whatever gauge you want. It really doesn't matter. But I use green so it blends in with the wreath. If you have a different color wreath, try to find a different color wire. They come in silver and gold as well, so whatever works for you. And you're gonna cut, I have a good amount here because I don't want to not have enough. So I'm gonna cut that with my wire cutters. And then I'm gonna take this loop I made with the ribbon, and I'm gonna put one end of this wire through the loop and bring it through about halfway. It's about halfway. And I'm gonna twist it around this loop a couple times to secure the loop. Okay, so now what I have is a loop like this with wire wrapped around it that is sticking up kind of from the top like this. And that is essentially gonna be what you're going to use to help you hold this ribbon to the wreath. So then I don't have to hold this anymore because this is being held by the wire, but I am just gonna put my thumb through the loop like this, can make sure I'm up close enough to show you guys. And then I'm gonna start by going back and forth. You can kind of unravel some of your ribbon. Go back and forth. So I'm gonna make a loop. And then if you have a ribbon like this, where there is a side that is inside out and a side that is right side out, you wanna make sure you're creating the loops so that the right side out is gonna be equal for both sides, if that makes sense. So you have to sort of twist it in the back and bring it up to make another loop. So I'm gonna see if I can do 4 loops on each side. I might even try to do 5. The trick is here, using your thumb in the back to hold, or your fingers to hold this together. If you have arthritis, that might be more challenging for you, but typically, if you just go slow and are patient with yourself, it comes together pretty quickly. And another thing to note is that I'm kind of alternating whether I put the bow, the next loop at the top or the bottom, because it helps keep the bow looking a little bit more like it's not lopsided or not too perfect, if that makes sense. So alternating. So now I'm up to 4 loops on one side. Here's the 4th loop on this side. And then what I like to do is just sort of put it against the wreath and decide, do I like that? Do I want something a little bit more? And I think I'm happy with this. I don't think I need to do 5 loops, because even if I did a 5th one, I don't think you'd really notice or see it. And then maybe I could use part of this ribbon for something else. So then before you do anything else, you're gonna take these wires that are sticking out from the top of that loop that you made, and you're gonna bring them down nice and tight, one from the top down, and the other one you wanna loop around to the bottom, so that now this wire is what's holding all those loops together. So pull it to the back, and you're gonna wanna twist it a few times. Twist it around each other a few times. And then take a look and see, is this holding well? Yeah, it's holding pretty well, so we're good. Okay, so then you can take the ends of the ribbon. They don't have to be exactly equal, and sometimes I kind of like it when they're not exactly the same length. But then you want to decide how you're going to, this is really twisted, sorry. You want to decide how you want the bottom of your ribbon to look. So you can just cut it straight across like this. You can cut it, or you can cut it like this, fold it in half like this, and cut with the point of your scissors going up towards the middle or the folded part of your ribbon. These scissors aren't quite as sharp as I thought they were, but sharper scissors are better. So that you're gonna get an end that looks like this. That's what I am going to do. So I did that on one side. I'm gonna do that now on the other side. Now remember, the tip of your scissors are pointing up towards the fold. Otherwise you're gonna have the tails would be short and the middle part would be long, if that makes sense. Okay, so now once I have the bow and I'm happy with the bow, I'm gonna push everything out of the way, and I'm going to figure out where the top of my wreath is going to be. So in this case, I know that there's a loop here somewhere. Right here, you'll see it's also where the tag is, but it's like a plastic loop that allows you to hang it on your door or wherever you're gonna hang it. So knowing that that's the top of my wreath, I'm gonna take these wires, have one be at the top. Now I'm looking at the front, so this is towards the back. And I'm going to put one of these wires, one at the top, through that hole that is going to hold the wreath onto the door. And yeah, I'm gonna cut the tag off in just a second. I forgot to do that. And the other one is gonna come out the bottom. So you can see what I have going on here. It's wrapped around the back side of the wreath. And then I'm going to pull, not too tight because you don't want the wire to break, but tight enough so that it's gonna stay on. And then you just, again, twist this a few times. Once you've twisted it a few times, I take the end, this is too much wire, but you can take a little bit of the wire that's left over and just kind of tuck it in or wrap it around something on the back of the wreath, because you don't want it to poke you or scratch up your door if you have a nice wood door or something, you don't want it to, or even a glass door, you don't want it to scratch it up. And I'm gonna do the same thing with this side. Do you guys make your own wreaths or kind of doctor up your own wreaths? My grandmother, when I was growing up, my mom isn't super crafty, but my grandmother, my dad's mother, was a baker and a crafty, very crafty lady. And she would even make her own, this part of the wreath, which is like grape, and they make it out of grapevines. She even did that part. That part I haven't gotten into. I buy mine and this is plastic, but it will last for many years, so there's that. Okay, so here, I'm grabbing the loop in the back and I'm checking to see what's happening with the ribbon. I'll hold it this way, so you can kind of move it around a little bit. And then you wanna go, this is why the wire ribbon's really great. You wanna go along and just fluff up the bow and kind of make it so that those loops are kind of coming from different, going in different directions to make it nice and full. And then with the tails of the ribbon, you have two choices. You can leave them loose like this, or, which is what I'm gonna do, which is a little bit extra, you can pin them up to the wreath. So you wanna grab a little bit more wire, I don't know, about like maybe 8 inches or so. And you take one section of this bow like this, kind of loop it a little bit, just a little bit, and then you're gonna take the wire and wrap it around the back of the wreath. Don't worry, you won't see it. I'll show you why in just a minute. So you're gonna just take and do the same thing you did with the bow, twist this in the back a few times, and then just sort of tuck the ends into the side of the wreath so you don't scratch anything up. So now you have this loop. Now you can take the loop and sort of fold it down, and this fold will fold over the wire. So you can kind of see I'm creating like a shape right here with this, and then you could do another one down here, or you can just let this go free, or actually, this is a little bit long, so I'll probably will trim mine a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is, off camera, I'm gonna do the other side, pin up the other side. I think I am gonna trim my ribbon down just a little bit, and then I'll come back and show you how we start decorating it with a little bit more color and floral stuff. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, I'm back. So what I have done is I have made sure the bow was secure. I've kind of fluffed up the actual loops in the bow a little bit, and then secured both of these sort of sides or corners down with some of that floral wire. And then I did end up by trimming one of the sides down just a little bit. So that's what we have so far. So then I have gone and clipped some individual pieces off of these big pieces just with the wire cutters. And I forgot to mention too that, I chose, like in New England here, we have what we call fake spring, and it may be in other parts of the country, but here it basically is like, oh, the temperature has warmed up and we're having some 50-degree days, and isn't it, it's spring. But in reality, it's like the middle of March and it's like fake spring, really. It hasn't really happened yet. It's just teasing us, and we're bound to get another, dip of like 30-degree weather. But I want to have a little something like fun and upbeat on my door, because my door has been bare since like January 1st when I took down Christmas decorations. So, and like, it's so weird. I'm not a huge like Valentine's Day person, so I never know what to put on my door in January or February or March. So I'm starting my spring decorating a bit early this year, but it'll make me happy when I come home. So, and I see my door. So anyway, so I have these pieces clipped down, and you can just do that with your wire cutter. And then you want to begin to put these in random places. Now, you may need to secure them with the wire like we did with the ribbon, but let's go along and see how we do it first. And these don't have to be in any particular order. I mean, you have to just do whatever you feel like is going to look good. I did notice that these florals have leaves on them that are a different color than the wreath. That doesn't bother me, but if it bothers you, you could just take them off. They actually just slide right off of this stem, so you can do that if you want to. And I feel like not everything in the wreath should go in the same, in the same way, if that makes sense. So even though these leaves are all going in one direction, I feel like with florals, you can kind of mix them up a little bit, and that's going to create a bit more of an organic look to the wreath. I found too with this floral, or this is more like, I'm not sure what these are, but they slide actually on this piece as well. So you can kind of be creative about how you decide to place them. So I'm just gonna start going along here and just placing these florals in wherever I feel like they are gonna go, wherever they should live. And again, kind of alternating the directions that I put them in and not putting everything like all one color in the same spot. You wanna mix it up, just like they would be if they were actually in nature. And you can, the very stem part of these florals have, oops, piece fell off, have a wire in them, but the end parts don't. So you can floof them a little bit, but there's only so much you'll be able to do. But yeah, so I'm gonna keep filling out this wreath, and then when I am done, I will show you guys the finished product and what it looks like hanging up on my door. So I'll be back in a few. Hey guys, so I'm gonna wrap up my vlog here. I just had an amazing dinner with a good friend. She's one of those friends that, you maybe don't see them as often as you would like, but when you make time for each other, you can really connect on a deep level and not just talk about surface stuff, but really have deep conversations for where you are sort of supporting each other. And yeah, she's an awesome friend. So I had a really nice meal with an awesome friend. I did help my husband, and I made those drinks that I was talking about earlier in the vlog, the banana drinks. The missing ingredient was a coffee liqueur. So it was actually 2 parts banana puree, and then 1.5 parts gold rum, half a part of banana liqueur. I think it's called creme de banana. No, just banana liqueur, I guess, because it's not creamy looking. And then it is 2 parts half and half, or you could use whole milk, and then 1 part coffee liqueur. I think that was all, but I'll try to find the recipe and link it down below as well. But that came out really nice. I will insert a picture here of what they looked like and the ingredients we used. So yeah, just an end to a great night. So my husband's having his game night. I am gonna go chill and watch some TV and just relax. So thank you for listening to another one of my vlogs. I will be kind of balancing out vlogs like this with travel, informative type videos. So please don't forget to like and subscribe. And don't forget that if you need a travel agent who is type A, so you don't have to be, I'm your girl. Take care, and I'll see you soon.